It's Sammy, and it's live at 11. Sorry I didn't advertise this one because I was doing a Bloomz live cafe this morning at 9 o'clock. So I must encourage you all to go over to the Bloomz Instagram page to see the live cafe interview that was done this morning with Cindy Porter and Linda Bell, myself, from the Bloomz Art Show. Good morning, Steve. Hello. Good morning, Malaris Official. Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. So live at 11. I just need to recap the fact that we do have our Bloomz Art Show. I'm a member of the Bloomz Arthouse Collective, and on the 29th and 30th of April, so next week, we are having a live online art show, which is going to be absolutely fabulous because we have 15 artists from around the world, and we're all going to be live in our studio. So this is mine. I may or may not tidy it up. I will tidy it up before the event. And you have the opportunity to come and meet us all and speak to us all and look at all our work. All the information is on the Bloomz website and on their Instagram page, and it's on my Instagram page, so I'm sure you've seen it there as well. Good morning, Steph. Thank you for joining me. So it's going to be brilliant. It really is. We're only doing this event once this year because obviously with everything opening up, we're doing we're all doing more in-person shows where you can come along and see our work. Steve says my room's tidy compared to Steph's. Well, Steph has a lot more equipment than me. I've just got paints and brushes. So anyway, it's creativity lying around. That's what it is. It's all my creative ideas lying about. But what I thought I would talk about today is I was going to have a guest, but they couldn't make it. So I'm not sure if Steve's going to join me at some point, but only if he behaves, because we were on the live and he kept putting up different questions which threw myself and the other two girls off really. But what I thought I'd talk about, because we're having this live art show where you can come and look at the artist's work. We've got photographers, we've got portrait artists, we've got fibre sculpture, we have sculpture in quite an unusual medium, which is gum. So that's Mac. She creates sculpture out of gum. Quite a unique story behind it, so please go and visit her room. We have Encaustic Wax Painting, so that's creating paintings with molten wax. Now Julie, who is the artist behind it, she's one of the UK's leading encaustic wax artists, and she does portraits, landscapes, abstract art. And to know that the wax is actually moving as she's creating it, I mean, it's amazing to see her work. We have animal artists, we have fantasy artists, we have other abstract artists, which is very different to my work. We have classical portrait artists, we have figurative artists. There's just so much to see, so do please come along and join the show, because you can get your tickets, which are free. The reason they're free is because we want to encourage as many people as possible to come and see our artwork and enjoy art. We're very laid back and relaxed in our studios. We're not going to bamboozle you with long words explaining this, that and the other about our work. We just want you to love our work. And if you're not in love with it, that's fine, but we just want you to experience different types of work. Anyway, so the information I'll leave all after this when I post it. Let me just see. Steve is coming on. Be able to explain it a lot better because he's good with his words. But what I wanted to talk about actually was the oh,
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. You're working overtime today, then, are you?
Overtime today. Yeah,
Blimey,
yeah.
you've done a lot. Fantastic live you did earlier on with the two Antipodeans, as we say, down under.
Our
Brilliant.
girls from down under.
It was great. I mean, what fantastic art they do as well, Sammy. All three of you.
Oh,
It was the colourful trio, we called it.
it was very colourful. Yeah, no, the girls are fabulous in the work they produce, and you just get lost in their work. But it is amazing. But people must come along to the show to see them.
It's so different as well because both Sammy and Linda do art that involves animals. I mean, Linda's the fantasy artist with, I mean, what goes on in their head, I don't know, but what comes out on the canvas is amazing. And Sammy is the spiritual sort of art with the animals.
Not me.
And then you have just got this wonder of colour and abstract. Just amazing.
Yes, Cindy does the animal.
Yeah, but Linda also does animals within her, but
Yeah,
totally different way of
yeah. No,
looking at
you were
animals.
just saying Sammy.
Oh, did I say
I don't
Sammy?
do animal art.
Sorry. I've got you on the brain today.
If you see animal in my work, then that's fine by me.
I've seen so much of you today. I've seen more of you today than I have of Steph. And you've got a new body of work to release, haven't you, to show for the Bloomz?
I have.
Can you reveal anything about it?
It's very different from last year, because last year was all about my journal from 2020 and very news orientated. This year I needed something to lift my spirits, so it's all about love and joy.
Oh,
But it's not all hearts and flowers. There are hearts and flowers, but as we know, with love there's heartache. So it's a bit of a mixture going to be going on.
And with each of your pieces, there's going to be a journey involved, isn't there? Because each of your pieces of art has a journey, doesn't it?
Yeah, and some of the pieces, it may not actually be my journey. It may be a journey that I've researched of someone else. So, for example, there's a piece called Love Letters, and it actually involves the love letters of Napoleon to Josephine.
Wow. Well, I didn't know that.
Oh gosh, Ernest Hemingway
to
Marlene Dietrich.
Oh.
So I've researched other people's love lives.
you are teasing us now with this, because I know that you've been releasing close-ups of part of the collection over the last few weeks on the Bloomz Arthouse and your own feed, and it's sort of, I think quite a few people want to see more. They want to see, of course they can next week. It's just a week away, Sammy.
I just need to say that none of my pieces are going to be framed ready for next week. So it'll just be on the raw canvas, but they will all be framed before they are sold. So,
but just a week away. Amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. It just feels like it suddenly arrived so quickly.
Yeah, that's
it's like when you wait for Christmas, all of a sudden it suddenly starts up a lot quicker. It suddenly rushes towards you, and then it's going to be over so quickly, and we'll have to wait another year.
Well, people, they should get their tickets because they're free. Tickets are free, aren't they? And this time we've got the most artists. I think we've had 15 artists.
It's our biggest show.
But the amazing thing about it is, and this is what is difficult to get across to people, is how the whole thing relates to learning about art. Because most art exhibitions you go to, most art galleries, it's all about selling. They're there, the artists are there purely to say, here's the art, that's the price at the bottom there. The Bloomz are totally different in that. The idea of the Bloomz is to get people interested in art, talking to artists, and finding out about mediums that you've never even known before. I mean, we've got Julie on here at the moment. She's an encaustic wax artist. Now, I'd never heard of encaustic wax. I'm sure many people haven't. It's the most amazing art form. You're painting with melted wax. And the way that Julie does it is just incredible. She can do portraits with melted wax.
It's absolutely stunning how that wax is moving while she's creating portraits. And it's like she said, you're not 100% sure where it's going to end up, but because of her skill and her talent, she's able to do it. I mean, if I had a go, I don't know what it would look like. It's like with Stephanie and her fibre sculpture. That is so detailed and so, I mean, from the very beginning, I mean, she'll talk about her process, but she knows every in and out of that animal, the skeleton, the muscle formation, and everything. Well, so what you see on the outside, there's so much more on the inside.
This is the thing about that I've learned about artists, and until I met the Bloomz, I didn't know much about an artist's process, how they go about it. You're all very different. I mean, I'm very different in the way, but that's the lovely thing about learning about art, and that's the wonderful thing about the Bloomz show, is that you can ask the artist all these questions about their process. You mentioned about Steph. Yes, she starts off with skeletal pictures of an animal and then builds up the muscle groups, and you're not going to see those when the final piece, but it's amazing how they do affect the final look. And you start off, of course, with an essay, which I thought was amazing when you first told me that. And it's not just a little half page. It can be like a tome, like War and Peace. And then you trace it down for the customer, for the clients. So I love to learn about an artist's process.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for our collectors to know about us and what we're actually doing, because I think when I buy art, I mean, as an artist, people think, oh, well, why are you going to the art fairs? What are you going for? Are you going to steal people's ideas? Well, no, I'm going to buy art because as a creative person, I need to fill my home with art. And yes, I've got my own art, but what I love is connecting with other people and their work. And so what I was going to talk about today actually was top tips for buying art. So my first top tip for me is I need to love it. What about you, Steve?
Top tip is to get to know the artist. If you can love the artist and you've got a liking for their work, you will begin to love their work. I think more than half of the reason for buying a piece of art is because you either met the artist, you've spoken, you've seen a YouTube clip, and you've come sort of almost to know the artist really well. And a lot of buying art is trust. I think trusting that the artist's heart was in it and a bit of their soul is in that piece of art. So that's one of my tips, is get to know the artist, love the artist.
Yeah. If you don't, I think it was Monet said, you don't need to understand my work, you just need to love it.
To love it, yeah. And
so, like you were saying, when we go into art galleries, you have very lovely people showing you the work, but they're salesmen.
Yeah, exactly.
They're selling it. They work on commission. Yeah.
And this is the different thing here, is that you get to, there's no salesman amongst the Bloomz. If you want to buy art, you can buy art. But the lovely thing is that none of the Bloomz artists are shy with sharing ideas and tips. A lot of artists don't like to share their ideas in case anybody's going to nick it and go off. I will happily tell somebody exactly how I build my lamps. If they want to go and try it, good luck to them. They're not one of my customers. They're not going to be, they're not. And if you know that, and how often at art fairs or at any event that you're exhibiting, do other exhibitors, once they know you're an artist, they don't want to talk to you really, because they don't think you're going to buy. But you just said, of course, artists buy art.
Absolutely. Julie just said that she did a blog about how to buy your art, top tips. And said it doesn't have to match your curtains. That was my second one. It doesn't have to match your decor because the art will stand alone. And if you, but the thing is, if I'm doing a commission and someone says, this is my color palette, I'll quite happily work with that because it's their painting, I'm painting for them. But generally, I will say to my collectors, it doesn't have to match the soft furnishings, because that piece of art is something that you love. And because you love it and because you've invested your story into it, it's like we all start the narrative and then our clients continue that. So it will fit within your home because you're seeing part of you in that piece.
And I think my next tip would be, don't think you have to just keep buying the same medium of art. Mix it up. Buy a piece of abstract if you like it. Then don't be afraid of buying some contemporary art or a piece of frame photography. Don't worry that you've got a mixed match of art. It just shows your eclectic love of art.
Yes, yes. That is, I don't know, when I've been into people's houses, and I don't know if you've seen it too, everything is matchy-matchy. And you sort of think, that's not you, because I know who you are. But what are you trying to tell me about you? Because that isn't you. You are full of life. You are vivacious. So let's put it on our walls. Let's put it on the units. Let's put it around us to show who we are. Because that's what we're doing when we're buying art, really, is we're wanting to show who we are. If you've really connected with that piece, you will be able to show that. So don't be afraid of showing yourself.
And often the piece of art you buy can actually reveal a little glimpse of you that other people didn't know. So why hide that away? And, and another tip I would give is, don't be afraid of moving art around in your house. Because, you know, Steph's got a painting that Elisa, one of our Bloomz artists, did for a wonderful thing that I bought, I had commissioned, of a geisha. And Steph won't hang it on the wall. She moves it from room to room with her and sits it wherever she's working. So, you know, don't be afraid of moving art around in your house. It freshens things up. It gives you a piece of art that was in the kitchen is now with you in the bedroom or in the, and then you probably see it in a different light. Literally, metaphorically and physically. Yeah.
One of my other points is, I think we've sort of covered it, is to do your research. Don't just assume because you've seen one painting, for example, abstract, that you thought was crap. Don't assume that all abstract artists are going to be producing the same thing. So keep an open mind and look at different styles of work. And that's the opportunity people will have at the Bloomz show, is we are all different. All different. So definitely do your research and have a look at different styles. And the cost of a painting doesn't mean it's a good painting if it's in the high bracket.
No, that's true. No. And also, I would always say, people never look at a piece of art for long enough. You see people in an art gallery walking around and sort of, oh yes, and then moving on. I think, especially with abstract art, Tammy, is that you've got to look at that piece of art for a while, because, and especially your work, the more you look at it, the more you see. The painting that I bought Steph of yours of the life after the Australian bushfires. Yeah, I mean, the more you look at that, the more you start to see. And that's where I think people fail, is they look at a piece of art, don't really understand that and move on. But actually your brain takes a few seconds to say to itself, I'm looking at a piece of abstract art. You then begin to get into the mind of the artist. You then see things in that painting that you didn't see before. And all of a sudden, something inside you sort of wakes up and you think, wow, I want to see more about this artist. I want to talk to the artist. I want to find out what makes her tick or him tick. And that's what you can do next weekend.
Absolutely.
Not this weekend, but the following weekend. Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself.
I think it's really important that people allow themselves to open themselves up to seeing things that they normally restrict down, and because art is a living thing, you know, and it moves and changes. And yes, there's different fads that come in, and so you will go into some galleries and you'll see the same thing over and over again.
Because that's the latest fad, yeah.
But don't necessarily, if you love that piece, buy it. but don't buy it, because in the local, in the new magazine or the glossy magazines, it said, oh, this is the up and coming artist. Get in there.
I totally agree with you there.
Because you get one artist featured in a magazine, but there's thousands on Instagram that you haven't seen that are just as good or even better than that one featured.
And that's the lovely thing now about social media, Instagram, is that there's so much art out there to absorb, and also new forms of art. Because if we went back only sort of 15, 20 years, when you said the word art, you immediately thought of paintings, really. But now there are different forms of art. Steph's art with her 3D sculptures. I only started calling my lamps art about 12 months ago. And so research what actually art is, because it's really anything that you create that other people want to buy, you know, that you designed yourself, and that can apply to anything. So broaden your horizons, think about different types of art and how you could accommodate them in your house, in your life, because they do enrich your life. A piece of art does more than just decorate a wall. A piece of art that you have decided to buy, you like the artist, you decided to buy it, the enrichment you get from that in your life, from every day seeing that piece of art, is quite unnerving sometimes, because it lifts your spirits and you don't realize it's doing it until you think, oh, why am I suddenly feeling a bit more, you know, enlivened? And it's because you've just seen that piece of art that you loved for so long. The artist has still got it. You made the decision, you bought it, and you spoke to the artist, maybe at the Bloomz show. And so art should mean something to you. It should really mean something.
Yeah, I've got a bell set of yours.
Oh,
and
yes.
when I walk past it, I stroke the top of it, just as I go past, because for me, it's from 1930s. It's touching a piece of actual history.
Yeah, it is a bit of communications history. Yeah.
Do you know, I don't know with my ancestors whether they'd have had a phone like that in their homes, because
no, they could have,
you know,
yeah.
You know, but it's just touching that piece of history, and it just gives me a little bit of a tingle. It's like when you go to museums where you can actually touch the artifacts, and you sort of feel that's you know, you're absorbing that piece of history because it's part of us in a way.
Yes.
And so it is about making sure that when you are buying your art or choosing what you want to have, that you really do have that connection with it, because
that connection
is
sort of instant, and you don't realize why you've got that connection. Something in your brain, and this, I mean, we're not going to get into the sort of the lies before and everything, but I think there's something in your brain that connects with a piece of art, whether it's a sculpture, an old artifact. I know when I was fortunate enough to visit the pyramids of Giza, and I went into the tomb of Ramesses III, and you stand there and you can see the sarcophagus and the pot of honey that's 2,000 or 3,000 years old and still apparently edible. And what goes through your mind, because your brain works a lot quicker. You can imagine 3,000 years ago being there and what they were doing at that time. And I think when I look at a piece of art, I think, what was the artist doing? What was around them in the room when they were making this piece of art? What were they thinking? Yeah. Why did they put that piece of color there? Why did they make that mark there? And I think that's the enjoyment of art.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about our Bloomz girls, and Elisa's from Rome. And when I went to Rome prior to lockdown, I went into the Colosseum and I put my hand on the wall, and just from nowhere, the tears just streamed down my face.
It's amazing how much you can touch over there as well, or you could do when I was over there. Incredible.
And when I went into the Sistine Chapel, I'd heard about it since I was a child. And when I went in,
you're walking along like this, aren't you, all the time?
Yeah. And I just couldn't, the emotion that just flowed from me.
Yeah.
You know, there were lots of other people just walking straight through and not just, they're gone. But but it is truly an emotional experience. Another thing I wanted to say about one of my top tips: size doesn't matter.
No, no, you can always find room for it, can't you?
If you have, I mean, I do quite large paintings, but even a small house can accommodate, a wall can accommodate a large painting. Don't be afraid of the size.
If you like it,
If
you
you
love
like
it,
it, if
you
you
need to
love
buy
it.
it. Yeah.
Don't buy it for the sake of buying it. But yeah, so it doesn't matter how big or small your house is. If you love that piece of art, it will fit.
It's funny because there are various, I've noticed because I do the shows as well, there are different sorts of customers, aren't there? There's those that will see a piece, impulse buy, I'm going to buy that now. There was those that will visit your stand, don't want to talk to you very much. They'll look at something, they then go off. You'll see them walk past again, looking over, and then eventually they'll come back and they'll buy something. You know, the sort of psyche of the customer always amazes me. And that's what I love about shows. I love interacting with people, as you know, but I love people watching, especially people who are looking at art and thinking, what are they thinking? And that's why I like to enter into conversations with them, because you try and find out without being cheeky and imposing, but what, you know, why are you looking at that piece? What is it about that piece that really grabs you? And yeah, I just think it's lovely. I think people are lovely to talk to. Some people don't want to talk, and that's one thing I must say about the Bloomz. If people want to come along, because we're at different time zones all over the world, and the show is an international show, you haven't got to have your video on, because some people will be tucked up in bed with a cup of cocoa, wanting to look at them and a bit worried about, should I have my video on? Don't put the video on. We don't mind. We don't mind if you talk to us. We don't mind if we can't see you. All we want you to do is to come and look at the art.
Yes.
Talk to the artist if you want to. So don't be afraid of putting that video on. You haven't got to do that.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is we just want you to enjoy what we have enjoyed creating.
And
just
that's the key there.
It.
That's the key and that's what you'll get from talking to all the Bloomz artists, is you'll know instantly that they love what they do. They're not just there to make a buck. They're there because what they create is a part of their heart. They love doing it. They love showing it to people. And that's why not anybody can come along and be a part of a Bloomz art show. The people that are, I mean, I'm an associate member, because I'm an ass, as Steph likes to say, AWS, associate member. I'm also hosting the event, so you're the first person that people see when they come into the Bloomz is me, and then they'll decide whether they want to stay or not, I suppose. But so you'll see me, and I know all of the artists. So some people will have an idea, having booked their ticket, looked at the online show reels, decided the order in which they want to see artists. They might decide to come over to shows because there's a lot of artists to see. But others will say, you decide for me, Steve. You decide who I should go and see. So I say, right, what do you like, first of all? What are you into? Well, I'm not sure if I like abstract. Right, go and see abstract first then. That will certainly change your mind. So, and I love giving people, and they'll come back to reception and say, where should I go next then? It's lovely. It's lovely. It's because I know all the artists, and I know there's not one of them that I'll be afraid of sending someone in their room to see. And don't forget, all these artists, yourself included, will be in their studios with live, and that's what people can't get their head around. It's live. So Cindy in Australia, Linda in New Zealand, Elisa in Italy, Katerina in Switzerland, Mac in Scotland, and the rest of us in the UK, in England, we'll all be live. Well, I'll be in reception, but everybody else will be live in their studios. So you'll see the environment like behind you now of what you're working. You're not in some little room all pristine. You've got art going on around you. And that's the difference. That's why this event is so amazing, because you're seeing real people in real environments with a real passion.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one last thing that I've got on my list is, what are you wanting the art to say to you?
Yeah, I think a piece of art will speak to you sometimes on different levels, depending on your own personal feeling that time. But you buy a piece of art because it's spoken to you when you bought it. So that you'll always remember, even if it says different things to you later on, you'll always remember what it was about it, what it said to you at the time you bought it. And that can sometimes give you a bit of a tingle, because it may be, I don't know, let's take a scenario where someone had just passed away, sadly, and that piece of art featured maybe an article or a flower that loved one was really special to them. And that moment that you saw it, you knew you had to have it, so you bought it. And even later on, when it reminds you of spring or summer or whatever, you'll always remember why you bought that piece of art, and never forget what it said to you when you first saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Julie just says, that cracks me up on the website.
Arse. Thank you, Julie, for bringing the tone of this conversation down. Always rely on you, darling. Yeah, always rely on you. This is Julie Last Minute Rothel, who always arrives at a rehearsal for the Bloomz with her hair and towel.
You shouldn't say that.
Why? It's real. I mean, we are.
I know it's real, but she always looks so gorgeous in the studio.
I see her looking gorgeous with a towel wrapped around her head. We go back to the Egyptian reference earlier on. She looks like a mummy. No, she doesn't. If anybody wants to see what the Bloomz girls are really like, listen to the three-way you had earlier on with Linda and Cindy. That was amazing. It just showed you the fun that these artists have. And for me, it's a joy being a part of the Bloomz event, the Bloomz show, being a Bloomz associate, because everyone is so much fun. There are no divas in there, apart from Steph. You are
living your life on the edge.
Oh, I love it. There's no arrogance.
Steve's partner is Steph, and they live together. How much longer for? I don't know now.
But no, there are no divas. There's no arrogance. There's no pretension. Not saying there is, but well, yes, there is in the art world. You do find it in the art world, but you won't find that in the Bloomz. What you will find is fun, passion, enjoyment, and beautiful, beautiful art.
Absolutely. Steve, thank you so much for jumping on this morning.
My pleasure, Sammy.
And I look forward to seeing you at the show.
Yep, we'll see you all on the 29th and 30th, and it's going to be great. So get your tickets now, everybody. It's free. Go to the Bloomz. That's Bloomz with a Z, bloomz.co.uk. Register for your free ticket. You'll get reminders of how to log in. You'll get reminders leading up to the day. And as Sammy said, there's one show a year, and all these artists are releasing new work, and you want to be the first people to see it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve. I will ask you to flick yourself off.
Yes, I will. Before I do that, I'll leave the chat. Bye.
Oh, dirty devil. Thank you so much, Steve, for jumping on. So I'll put all the information in the notes after I post the video. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next week live at 11. See you later. Bye-bye.